Hey, how's it going, Bible Talk family? Welcome back to Bible Talk with BW, where we read scripture, we observe it, and we apply it to our lives. Today is Thursday, so every Thursday we go through the Bible. Today we are in Genesis 19. This is one of my favorite stories. It's also a story that's challenging to a lot of people, and that is Genesis 19 is the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. And I'm really excited to go over this with you and just share what I've learned and any wisdom that we can learn together in this chapter. There's so much in it that I might have to make this into 2 videos. We'll see how far I get. That being said, let's get started. Genesis 19. The two angels arrived at Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city. So right away, there's 2 things I want to talk about. The first one is that previously we saw that there were 3 angels. One of them was the angel of the Lord. That is Jesus, a picture of Jesus in the Old Testament, along with 2 other angels that are just angels, messengers of God. That's what the word angel means. But the reason why we don't see the angel of the Lord going down with these 2 other angels is because we see in Psalm 66, it says, if we have iniquity in our heart, the Lord will not hear us. And Sodom and Gomorrah is a place of iniquity. It's a place of sorrow and pain and sin. And it's a great lesson, a great picture of maybe you pray and you feel like God isn't hearing our prayers, and or you feel like God isn't hearing you pray, and a lot of times that could be because not that God doesn't hear your prayer, it isn't there, but he's choosing to not hear your prayer, so to speak, because he wants to point out that you are living in this type of sin that you need to take care of. And I'm not talking about sin that everybody struggles with or accident or falls into, or because we all sin, you know. I'm talking about a pattern sin, so sin that you willingly, knowingly, arrogantly, selfishly involve yourself with, and then go to prayer. Oftentimes you'll feel like God isn't hearing you, and in my case more so, it's really when I was living in a type of sin, it was just hard to even try to pray to the Lord, um, because I felt unworthy. I felt like, what's the point? Because I knew I was doing something wrong, and so it was hard to go to the Lord. The other side of that, that's when we need to go to the Lord also, is we don't need to fix our life first, but we do need to realize that when we come to the Lord, he's trying to get our attention for a reason, because we need to get rid of certain sin in our life. Second thing is that it says Lot was sitting in the gateway, and this is a common phrase used, and the fact that he was sitting there. So what the leaders in a city in the Old Testament, they would gather at the gate of the city. It was just a big empty space, and they would gather and they would go over certain things that they wanted to do in the city, which tells me that Lot had become a leader of the city. He wasn't just a citizen of the city. Okay, let's keep going. When he saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. "My lords," he said, "please turn aside to your servant's house. You can wash your feet and spend the night and then go on your way early in the morning." "No," they answered, "we will spend the night in the square." So these angels were sent there because God heard uh, just how bad Sodom and Gomorrah was, which I talked about in my last video. If you want to listen to that, I'd encourage you to. But these angels were there to see how bad it was. But Lot is saying, "Hey, no, no, no. Trust me, you don't want to stay out there. Come stay in our house." But he insisted so strongly that they did go with him and entered his house. He prepared a meal for them, baking bread without yeast, and they ate. So, one thing I want to point out, why it's important baking bread without yeast. Yeast in the Bible is a type of sin. because yeast, a little bit of yeast gets in the bread and it infects the whole bread. And then it's just emptiness. It's considered an emptiness because it puffs up the bread, but there's no more, not any substance in there. It just raises the dough with air. It says, and they ate. Before they had gone to bed, all the men from every part of the city of Sodom, every man from the part of the city of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded the house. They called to Lot, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we can get to know them." And by know them, it's they're saying bring them out so we can have sexual relations with them, homosexual relations with them, because they're all men. This next part gets me. Lot went outside to meet them and shut the door behind them and said, "No, my friends." So this is how far Lot has gone, to the point where he calls these guys his friends. "Don't do this wicked thing. Look, I have 2 daughters who have never slept with a man. Let me bring them to you, and you can do what you like with them. But don't do anything to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof." Okay, I've done a lot of studying on this because I can't figure out, I can't fathom, I can't grasp the wickedness in somebody's heart that would turn over their daughters. And I get why Lot realized that these were angels, so he knew that they were from the Lord. They knew that they were from God, and so he thought in his mind that it was better for his daughters to go out there than these angels of the Lord. The only thing I can think of is Lot had become that numb to sin, that corrupt to sin, that that was the first choice. And I'm gonna leave it there because our culture is becoming increasingly numb to certain sin, and I'm not going to go into detail with that, but I'll just leave that there for you to ponder and think about, and maybe go over on your own. "Let me bring them out to you, and you can do what you like with them. But don't do anything to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof." "Get out of our way," they replied. "This fellow came here as a foreigner, and now he wants to play the judge." They're talking about Lot here. So maybe you've experienced this. So they're telling Lot, you came in here, you participated with us, you involved yourself with our culture, and now you want to sit and judge us for doing this, because he called what they were doing a wicked thing. And so he lost his credibility, so to speak. He lost his, I don't know the right word I'm looking for, but he lost it because he had incorporated themselves with their culture. And so now that he's telling them that what they're doing is wrong, they're saying, "Hey, you can't judge us because you're here with us. You came in and lived with us. You became a leader in this place. So you've allowed this to happen, and now you're trying to stop it." That's pretty much what he's saying there. "We'll treat you worse than them." They kept bringing pressure on Lot and moved forward to break down the door. But the men inside reached out, pulled Lot back into the house, and shut the door. They struck the men who were at the door of the house, young and old, with blindness, so that they could not find the door. The 2 men said to Lot, "Do you have anyone else in here, sons-in-law or daughters, or anyone else in the city who belongs to you? Get them out of here, because we are going to destroy this place. The outcry of the Lord against its people is so great that he has set us to destroy it." So Lot went out and spoke to his sons. So I want to point out, before I continue on, These people that were struck with blindness, and yet they still insisted on trying to find the door to break in. That's how wicked these guys were. It's a pretty sad sight. It's a pretty sad picture to look at. And then we see why God is destroying this city. The outcry of the Lord against his people is so great that it has sent us to destroy it. So a lot of people have a problem with, how could God destroy an entire city? What kind of good God would allow that to happen? And it's actually a merciful God who will destroy this city, because it would be just like a dog with rabies or an animal with rabies. Those rabies, once they start showing their symptoms, the dog is dead. There's no cure for it. The only thing to do is put the dog out of its misery, so it doesn't bite one of your children or doesn't bite you. God gave Sodom and Gomorrah 400 years to turn from their wicked ways. That's a long time. It's way longer than I would give them. Because you got to remember, God hears, sees, knows all. He knows exactly how evil they are. He still gave them all this time. And he finally said, I can't let this continue on, because this disease is going to spread to my children, what I'm trying to do. And I can't allow that to happen. And so he put them out of their misery. And that's why God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, is because we saw in the last chapter, there was no righteous people, not even 10 righteous people, because, we saw God have a conversation, and he said, if there was even 10 righteous people there, I won't destroy it, with Abraham. And Abraham no doubt thought that there was at least, because we had Lot's 4 daughters, and 2 of their daughters had sons. That's 6 people, and or 7 people. So he thought there has to be at least 3 other people in there, and there wasn't. Everybody else was considered unrighteous. So Lot went out, spoke to his son-in-laws, who were pledged to marry his daughters. He said, hurry and get out of this place, because the Lord is about to destroy the city. This is a super important message right here. But his sons-in-laws thought he was joking. Okay. Now, question is why? How come they didn't believe him? How come they didn't believe Lot? And it's because Lot moved his family into Sodom. He became a leader. He lost all credibility with his family. And that's a huge lesson there for parents, for myself, for you, that, man, if you incorporate yourself with sin, you lose credibility with your children, with in this case, your children's husbands, or your children's wives, whatever the case may be, because they see that you've allowed all this to happen. So why would they take you serious? And I've experienced this in my own life. For periods of time, I didn't live right, and I saw the way it affected people around me. Younger family members who looked up to me, who no longer could take me serious. And there's a huge lesson to be said here. With the coming of dawn, the angels urged Lot, saying, hurry, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, for you will be swept away when the city is punished. When he hesitated, the men grasped his hand and the hands of his wife and his 2 daughters and led them safely out of the city, for the Lord was merciful to them. I had a question, how come he was hesitant? How come he was waiting? And the only answer I could come up with is he's waiting for his daughter. He just expected to see his other 2 daughters and their husbands. So he was holding off for the last minute, holding on hope that they would come, but they just didn't come. That was also cool to see the Lord will save those who are righteous, was merciful to them. They were counted as righteous, which blows my mind, because you look at Lot, and it's hard to imagine Lot as being considered righteous. He just tried to give his daughters over to an angry mob. He was leader in Sodom. He was this, he was in it. He was incorporating himself in their culture. And yet, because he believed in God, that's what it takes. Jesus says, all who believes in me will not perish, but have everlasting life. And that gives me great hope for a lot of people I know. It gives me great hope for myself. The fact that righteousness is counted by nothing we can do, but our belief in God. Okay, I think so. I'm going to pick up at 17 next week. And there's so much more to this that we got to get into, but I'm going to stop there for tonight. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this. Read it over again yourself, and let me know if you find anything else or see anything else interesting that you want me to talk about. And yeah, we'll get into the rest of this next week. All right, until next time.